Welcome to the Jack Westin MCAT podcast with your hosts, Michael Maleka
and Molly Hudash. All right. Welcome back to the Jack Westin MCAT podcast with your hosts, Mike and Molly. Super excited to be here with you guys. We've got arguably one of the most fun episodes for today than we ever have had. And I say that even though I have adored every single episode and topic that we've done.
I'm having a blast every time.
Mike, tell us what we're talking about today.
We're talking about that last week before your exam day. Like, what should you be doing in that last week? And I think this is a really fun one because I think a lot of people overthink this one a lot. But there are specific things you should do and specific things you should avoid, like really should avoid during this time. I love having this conversation because, again, I know we both get this again all the time. What should I be doing in my last week?
I know. I like to call it the victory lap, right? Last week or last episode, we talked all about like, how will you know when you're ready to take your exam? And it was a lot of introspection. It was a lot of how do you feel about your chances of getting the score that you want, like your emotional and mental beliefs. How do you think you're going to do? Look at your scores. Do you feel that the scores are reflecting a trend that's working in your favor? Like, we had a lot of sort of questions posed to verify, yes, okay, take your test, schedule your test, you're ready. And as we mentioned a little bit last episode, the last week before, right, or the time leading up to your test, you need to recognize you've already done all of the hard work, right? A lot of people, I as far as I've seen, is they think this last week is going to be the last big push. Like, I'm going to make sure that I'm studying X amount of hours a day. Like, I'm going to take the week off leading up to my test because I need to study. The exact opposite is really what you should be doing. Not that we're not going to study at all, because we are, but really the highest yield thing that you could do that last week is get yourself mentally and emotionally prepared. It's not learn a bunch of new stuff, right? It's not. You need to get yourself ready. You need to get your mind right because you're about to do your victory lap, right? We said if completing the MCAT feels like, you have to climb up a mountain, you're already at the top. You've already put in months and months and months of hard work. You've already learned all of the content and the knowledge and the strategies that is required to succeed. The last thing you need to do is really just, again, mentally and emotionally prepare yourself so that when you sit down, you're not exhausted, you're not sleep deprived, you're not, overly caffeinated, you're not incredibly anxious, right? Get your mind right, and you're going to enable yourself to show up at your best and ultimately demonstrate how hard you've been working over the past several months.
And I think this is the biggest contrast with like how we take exams, like when we're in undergrad and when we're in school beforehand.
Yes.
Because like I know, hey, I'm out myself. Right? I was a procrastinator. I was a procrastinator, still a little bit am, not as bad as I used to be. But this is the idea where I can remember all the time when I was in undergrad, the day before the exam, like I was super busy before, so I'm just going to sit down and study for the exam. The day before the exam was a study day. It was the work day. This is where a lot of that review was happening. And then on test day, right? I didn't have a rest day beforehand. But this is where the MCAT's not like any exam you've taken before this point for most people, right? You don't usually study for a single test for 3+ months. And so don't think in those last few days you're going to be doing what you did in undergrad, right? I remember, and we'll talk about the actual schedule today, but I remember I told a student that I was working with, right, the last 2 days, right, we should be kind of ramping down a little bit. And they were shocked. They were like, what are you talking about? Those are my grind days. I'm like, no, no, no. The timer that should be your grind days is the days, the months leading up to that point. That last day, like you said, is the victory lap. You've put in the work. You've climbed the mountain. Relax now.
Yes.
So why don't we like go like I think a week out? Your exam is on a Saturday, for example. Week out, what should we be doing, Molly, before that?
Well, I mean, I really feel like, especially because you brought up, this is not like undergrad, it made me think, I don't know how many of us listening to this were athletes, let's say in high school and college, whatever, right? Or before. I see this victory lap as, especially like the days leading up, like you have a huge tournament. Are you going to run sprints and have this exhausting workout the day before you have this major tournament. Like, no, you're going to be exhausted, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes it's easier to think about your physical exhaustion
Mhm.
than your mental exhaustion. But think about that, right? If you had a very long day of physical activity, physical exercise, or a lot of sports are actually a lot of mental energy too, right? Like you'd want to be resting. You want active rest leading up to those, like in those last couple days before that big performance, right? So do that when you're studying. Think about it
Mhm.
that way. It's not a undergrad exam. It's a tournament, it's a game, it's
Mhm.
whatever you want to call it, right? But you need to give your body some kindness and some rest, right? Again, active rest, which is kind of what we're about to get into with the schedule, but it's not the same as a sprint, right?
Mhm.
And I think maybe thinking about it in terms of physical activity is almost easier because your body tells you
Mhm.
very obviously when your body is tired. Right?
Mhm.
Like I just, hit legs at the gym. My legs are too tired. Don't go on a run. Don't go on a hike. I'm tired.
I
Slow
mean,
down.
I still do the hike. I'm gonna be
Or
honest.
I do
I'm just a
too.
masochist in the gym, but like, don't do as we say, not as we do.
Yes. Well, I mean, I think pushing yourself physically is sometimes easier to do than
Mhm.
pushing yourself mentally. And
Mhm.
we should be pushing ourselves mentally, but I think we pay less attention
Mhm.
when we hit that period of I am so exhausted, right? Like
Mhm.
teetering on burnout, right?
Mhm.
It's harder to ignore when your body hurts than when your brain hurts,
Yeah.
especially when I often self-identify as people who can and will study for hours and hours and hours on end.
Mhm.
Um, so treat your brain like a muscle. It's not a
Mhm.
muscle, wrong tissue type, but treat it like a
Mhm.
muscle, right? Give it the rest and the recuperation that it needs before you hop in with this.
Mhm.
Um, but thinking about the schedule, right? In that last week, we want to be, yes, we want to be taking a test. We want to be reviewing a test. We want to, again, maintain that rhythm and that momentum, but also slowing it down, right?
Mhm.
So if you're taking your test on a Saturday, the first
Mhm.
thing that we'll talk about in this sort of last 7 days is the Saturday before,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Hopefully, at this point, we've gotten into a routine of at least for the last 4 weeks leading up to your test, you need to be taking your test every single Saturday, right?
Mhm.
So that's what you should be doing the Saturday before, 7 days before. And that should feel normal. One little thing that I would add is, especially if your test day is on a weekday, like a Thursday or a Friday, that morning that you're taking your test 7 days before, um, go out and drive to your test center. Just
If you
drive
can.
there, turn around and come back to take your test. But I want you to recognize what the traffic looks like,
Mhm.
right? If you are driving to a place you've never been to before and you wait until essentially game day, right? Until your actual exam to figure out where it is or to figure out how long it's going to take you, you're rolling the dice here. What if
Mhm.
traffic is bad, worse than you think on a Friday or a Thursday? You want to know that before. So
Mhm.
I would recommend that. I actually didn't personally do that. Mike, did you?
I did. Oh yeah.
Okay,
And I
good.
am so glad that I did. Like I remember a week before I did the thing. I woke up at, very, very early. I drove to my test center in traffic conditions, so I knew what the traffic was like. It wasn't too bad. I mean, I'm in Brantford in Canada. That's where I was at the time. But I remember going up to my test center. I couldn't immediately find the doors. I could not immediately
Mhm.
find the doors. Like this was a week before my exam to the test center. It was like in this weird office building
Yep.
scenario.
They
And
always are.
so I had to drive like around and then I finally found the door. And once I saw the door, I'm like, okay, that's the door I need to go in on test day. And I am so glad that I did. And I recommend every single student, if you can, if you have the ability
Yeah.
to do that because I can just imagine how much more stress that would have added, how much more pressure that would have added on test day if I could not find my test center. I couldn't
Yeah.
find the doors. Even if I ended up finding like the stress, the cortisol rising, you're not thinking straight, you're the sweating, right? All these things would build up. I'm so glad, and I recommend everyone, if you have the ability, make sure you can point to the door you need to on test day and say, hey, this is the door I need to be. This is where I'm going to be.
Yes. And
Mhm.
if you can't, and in case you didn't catch last episode,
Mhm.
definitely go back and check it out if you
Absolutely.
haven't. But when I took my exam, I actually couldn't get a test date in my city or in my area, I had to drive like 3.5 hours to go and take my test.
Mm,
So the day before my exam, I drove up, I stayed in an Airbnb the night before, and then I drove over in the morning. So this was not an area I was familiar with at all. I'd never been here. And I obviously didn't know where the test center was. It was it was not the most ideal situation, right? But on the morning or when I drove up, to go and stay in the Airbnb before I checked in, I went and found it.
mm,
So if you don't have the time far in advance, right? It was an extra maybe 10 minutes of that
mm.
3.5 hour drive. So you know what? I really wanted to just get to the
Mhm,
Airbnb and wind down and go to sleep,
mhm,
but it was worth it
mhm.
because just like you, it was in like the back of this office building in this
Right.
big complex and it would have been stressful. So
Mhm,
even if you are not close, right, you're at least going to get there the day before. Go find it the day before, even if you're like, I just want to go to sleep. Um, because I really think that like when I did, I woke up, I'm already in an unfamiliar environment. I'm already not the optimal situation for taking your test, knowing that I already knew where I was going and I could just wake
mhm,
up, grab the breakfast I've already made, grab the coffee that I already had bought, and
mhm,
then drive where I already knew I was going and get there early.
mhm,
It was as relaxed as I could have been given the fact that I was not in my home environment.
mhm.
I had an Airbnb staying with this sweet old lady who talked to me
Oh,
for hours and hours
oh,
the
that's
night
so
before
cute.
my test.
I don't know how much I love that one, but
Mm.
yeah.
Well, it was so sweet. And I'll
Really?
tell you more about this when we get to what we should be doing one day out, but
Hmm.
I couldn't I'm a sucker, you know.
Oh,
If you're sweet, I will talk to you forever. I'm a major yapper and she just hadn't, you know, she doesn't have people to talk to all the time.
oh,
And she was so sweet. I was like, "You know what?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've got a major exam in like
like a
8
life-changing exam like
hours."
tomorrow.
Like, yeah, I
Yeah.
gotta go to bed. And she's like, "Oh, well, I appreciate you talking to me. You know, my niece and I used to get lunch every week, but I haven't been able to for about a month. And, you know, I just miss people." I'm like, "Okay, all right, let's
Oh
hear about
no.
last Christmas. Just tell
Oh
me everything.
no. That's
I
so
am here
sweet.
for you."
You're too good. You are too good. Honestly, I would have honestly made plans after. I was like, you know what? Why don't we just grab dinner after? Because I remember that's so contrast to me. Like the day before, I was like, nobody talked to me. I'm vibing right now. Like I am. But we'll talk about the day before. But you are too much. I can't.
I can't turn it off, but it's
Mm,
fine.
mm, mm,
And you know what? In its own way, that was self-care and it was
mm,
restful. But
mm, mm.
which we'll get there. But that's a
We'll get
huge
there.
piece.
We'll
That's a
get there.
huge piece is calming yourself down. But again, when we come to 7 days before, one of the best things that you could do for the next 7 days is know where you're going,
Know where you're
right?
going.
And
That's
it's
like the big
great.
piece. Hmm.
Yes, it's great. Get up, take the test at the same time as your actual exam. Make
Hmm.
sure you get up and you drive that um, distance, however far,
Hmm.
that you will the morning of, just to, again, figure out the traffic patterns.
Mm,
Of course, you want to make sure you get up early on actual test day just in case traffic is worse
mhm,
now than it was, but get that experience on the
mhm,
Saturday full length, assuming you're
mhm,
taking a Saturday exam, um, drive out,
mhm.
right? And then, of course, you're going to review your exam. At this
Of
point,
course,
you should
we need
have
to.
at least 6 exams under your belt.
Hmm.
Review it just like normal. I would say anywhere between 2 and 3 days to do your review, right?
Hmm.
So it could be Sunday, Monday, it could be Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Make sure you know that last exam like the back of your hand. Ideally, the AMC's free practice exam, the scored one.
Sure. Hmm.
But whatever exam that you have access to, that's new to you, and that hopefully can help be a score predictor. Make sure you have that under your belt. Don't skimp on the review. Make sure
Hmm.
you review, but don't prolong it, right? Tuesday maximum if you take it on Saturday.
Right.
Probably
So
Sunday morning,
Sunday,
but
Sunday,
Tuesday
Monday,
maximum.
yeah, that's where you finishing things off, right? You're kind of getting those last pieces of value kind
You're
of for the
slowing it down.
review. Yeah. But then now is where we kind of like we've been grinding up until this point. We've been taking practice exam after practice exam, practice passages, reviewing, constantly using our really intentionally made Anki decks. If you don't know how to make an intentional Anki deck, we have an episode
Go check it out.
I talk about that episode all the time. But
Yeah.
Now we're at Tuesday, right? Where you've just Tuesday or Wednesday, right? We've just finished reviewing our exam. And so that tendency is like, okay, let me do a bunch of practice passages like after based on that exam.
Mm,
And this is where we need to start thinking about, okay, what is going to be the most beneficial thing for me to do in the next 3 days? Right? What is going to be
hmm
the most high yield things to do in the next 3 days? I think that one day after you finish your reviewing your exam, so say you finish reviewing on Tuesday, I think
hmm
that one day, Wednesday, again, I usually don't recommend the Thursday, but Wednesday, you, based on that exam, what do you need to review? Like maybe
Yeah.
you saw in that exam there were some consistencies. You again, you remember watching from our video about AMC review about what to look for, and then you want to act on those. Wednesday is the day to do it in the Saturday plan. Wednesday
Yeah.
is the day to like, okay, I need to review and make sure I do some practice problems on maybe acids and bases. Maybe I need to relook at this content. Maybe I want to just brush up on my data interpretation strategies. This is the day to do it. This is your last sort of work day, in my opinion, the last day. Because
Yes.
after this point, once you've cleaned up all those loose ends, it's time to get ready for test day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that. Wednesday being like the sort of catch-all day, right? Like
Mhm.
we're very much in the routine now of taking an exam, reviewing the exam in the ways that we shared in our little how to review mini series.
Mhm.
Um, and then ultimately after you're done reviewing the actual passages and the questions from that exam, you have a day at least where you go in and you say, okay, I struggled with acids and bases, I struggled with light, I struggle with the immune system. Now I'm going to take a day and just go and brush up on those things. That's your Wednesday, right? But one of the things that we see all the time and we hear from students, especially after the fact, is like I felt like what I focused on in the last like week, just it was very like specific to that last exam. And like there were things that I studied that I just hadn't seen in like a month. Like I just hadn't
Mhm.
looked at it. I
Mhm.
knew it, but it just didn't feel familiar to me. Like
Mhm.
it just had been a while. It kind of caught me off guard when I saw it on my real exam because it just wasn't in the last, let's say, two exams that I looked at. And for that reason, one of the things that I really value, especially on that Thursday,
Mhm.
right? So just basically 2 days ahead of your exam, sit down with like the Jack Weston quick sheets or their
Mhm.
shorter ones as well, something that is comprehensive, but also like a study guide, right?
Mhm.
So sit down and just review. Or if you want, you can also, if you've been making Anki, like we've talked about,
Mhm.
you can open the Browse tab on Anki and just flash through your cards, right? You basically just want to re expose yourself to everything that's on the test, right? We're not going in and watching lectures on this. We're not reading textbooks on this. It's a very bird's eye, like, oh, right, I forgot that I'm eligible to be tested on SN1, SN2, right? Like I
Mhm.
forgot about that, but like now I remember, like it
Mhm.
won't it won't quicken my heartbeat. It won't activate my sympathetic nervous system if I see it on test day. Cause like at least now I remember that it could
Mhm.
be on there, right? Like you
Mhm.
know what's testable and what's not. Um, we have the quick sheets available for free on our website. If we can, maybe we will drop the link on YouTube in the comments as
Possibly.
well. We'll
Possibly. Hint,
we'll
hint.
figure it out.
Yeah, for sure on the back end. Yeah.
Yes. But there's tons of resources like that that are out there. Equation sheets too, right?
Mhm.
Just make sure that you kind of again get that bird's eye just exposure. These are all the things that you can see on your exam, so nothing catches you off guard. Like, shoot, I haven't looked at that in
Yeah.
months or weeks or whenever.
Yeah. This is not the time to like be learning new things, right? This is
Exactly.
the
You know
time
what
to
you
be
know.
like, you know what you know, like, and like I am thinking, and this is again, I can resonate with this because this is exactly what I did. Right? This is 100% what I did. I had a quick sheet, I had like 300 pages, and I just breezed through it. Right? Just
300 pages?
yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot. It
Excuse
was
me.
it was a lot.
Was this a quick sheets you've made that you
I
made?
added to it. It was one that was already pre-made that I added
Oh,
pages
okay,
to.
okay.
So like pages,
300 pages. Geez. How long did
yeah.
that take
So
you? All day?
I mean, it was just, I didn't make a new one, but like I just skimmed through. Again, these pages weren't like the first pre-made ones were really dense, but the ones I had added were like a few
Okay.
minor notes that I need to keep, like equation sheets that I added, like
Okay.
different things. Like it was a very, very like maybe took me like an hour or two in total to just like skim through them.
Okay.
But I'm not again, the big thing is you're not studying from this.
Yeah, not learning.
This is not a learning opportunity. This is a reviewing
Yeah.
opportunity.
like
to
a
just
memory
prime.
trigger.
Yeah, just like, oh yeah, these things. Oh my, oh, what was that? Oh, what was the PK of his? Okay, that's the PK of his scene. Okay, cool. Right, just like going down that way. And so that's kind of the Thursday. But are we doing passages this day? What, you tell me, Molly. Are we doing passages this day, really?
No, I would say no. I mean, if you want to do cars, especially if cars is a big focus for you, I'd say that's totally fine. Especially if you've kind of hit a rhythm with it, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
cars is perfectly fine, but really for the most part, we need to be winding down. Again, think of this as like I'm about to perform in the Olympics. I
Hmm.
don't want to exhaust my body 2 days before the actual
Right,
performance. Like
right.
I've been working for, in that case, years for
Hmm.
this. I have my big performance, right? My big competition day, I need to be ready. I need to be ready.
Hmm.
So I think Thursday, more than anything, is just something to boost your confidence,
Hmm.
right? I'm going to take all the pressure off myself. I'm going
Hmm.
to break the routine that I've had of review or take your exam, review your exam, doing the targeted content and passage practice for a couple days and then restarting, right?
Hmm.
We're breaking the mold. We are intentionally sitting down and treat it like a rest day, right?
Oh my
Go to
goodness.
your favorite coffee shop, right? Order a matcha or an espresso or whatever you
Matcha's
like.
disgusting. Matcha's
Okay.
disgusting.
I'm not a matcha fan either. I try to be.
Drop it in the comments if you're like a matcha fan. I
I
am
try
not a
to be.
matcha fan at all.
I like some matcha if it has a lot of sugar in it.
Wow, that is
Matcha with coconut milk or
I
coconut.
hate coconut too.
Okay, all right. We're beefing now. We're
Okay,
beefing.
that's a
Right.
great black
Go.
coffee.
So what
Great
would you get at a
Americano.
coffee shop
Like
then? What's your
Americano
go-to?
with honey. Americano with honey or maple syrup if they have it.
You're so Canadian.
Yeah, no,
You're
an
getting maple syrup.
Americano with maple syrup. Oh,
That
that
actually
gets me.
sounds delicious.
It is so good. It
I'm
is
more of
so
a
good.
cappuccino girl. I'm on a cappuccino kick.
Really. Yeah.
I was always a make my own drip coffee at home with some coffee creamer, call it a
Mhm.
day, but
Mhm.
I had a cappuccino
Mhm.
at this coffee shop and it was so good and now that's all that I'll order.
Mhm.
And I want an espresso machine exclusively so I can make cappuccinos at home every morning.
Wow. Okay. I mean,
I don't
hey,
even
I
buy coffee when I'm out. I literally am always just a drip coffee at home,
really
make a pot, refill it throughout the day. Like that's it. But
interesting. No, I mean, I'm a big go, but there's only one. I like, when to be honest, don't like the Starbucks or like again,
yeah,
Tim's is a very Canadian thing. Like everybody loves Tim's in Canada,
yeah.
but like there's this one little coffee shop next to my house. They're so amazing. I love them there
Oh,
that
I love it.
and so I just go down there and do some, it's the best. But this is the day to do it. This is the
Yes.
day to go out, like Thursday and Friday, really, is to go do something you enjoy. Go
Yes.
relax somewhere. Play
Yeah.
some video games. We were actually just talking about this before. Molly's like the hugest gamer. Molly, you are the hugest gamer. Biggest
Oh
gamer I
yeah.
heard.
Biggest gamer. No, I've wanted to get into gaming and you know
Yeah.
what? Thursday night
Hmm.
and Friday would be the perfect time if you love to game, if you love to hike, if you love to read, do whatever you enjoy, right? Again, the morning of Thursday, you go to your coffee shop, you review your quick sheets. It's literally just to boost your confidence of like, yeah, I remember this stuff. Like
Yeah.
I if I got a question about this, like
Hmm.
I'll do it, right? You're not actually testing that with all the questions, right? It's purely a confidence boost of like, I've seen all of this somewhat recently. Like I'm ready. I could do questions on this. Like I'm good, right? And then
Hmm.
after that on Thursday, maybe you spend 2, 3 hours, right? Then you go and do something relaxing, right? So personally, I'm a big hiker. I
Hmm.
went on a nice hike with my
Hmm.
dog. It was beautiful. Watched the sunset, went home, read
Hmm.
my book. But nowadays I am trying to get into gaming. And maybe if
Hmm.
I took my exam again, I would try it. Although
What's
I've only ever been able to get hooked on one game.
This is not now. What was the game? What was the game that I'd never heard of it before this point?
It's called Dave the Diver. And I will die on this hill that it is the best game ever because I'm someone who can't I didn't play a lot growing up, so
Mm,
I can't like if it's a really long game, like I tried Breath of the Wild, which was amazing and I loved it, but it was just it's very brain on. You want to make sure that you're doing it the right way because it's such a long storyline.
mhm.
And I got like halfway through it and was like, I've just been transporting everywhere. I don't think I'm doing this right. I'm not like interacting with everyone. I'm not doing all the missions. Like I I just kind of gave up because I was like, I don't think I've done this right from the beginning, and I'm too invested to start over.
Mhm.
Dave the Diver, best game ever because it's
It's
got a lot of variability, but it's
mhm.
also got a surprisingly phenomenal plot.
You
Like
are
you're
the
literally a
biggest
spear
spokesperson of this
fisherman.
game.
You're a spear fisherman who works in a sushi shop in the
Mhm.
morning and the evening, and you get put in some really insane situations that you got to deal with. It's fun.
Not
I'm trying to
sponsored,
get
by the
Mike
way.
hooked on it.
It's so I would actually consider myself like kind of a gamer. Like I grew up playing
Kind
it.
of a gamer.
I'm a lot. I was a big gamer growing up.
Yeah.
Like I played like not as much anymore. I just don't have the time. But like I played the World of Warcrafts. I played
Hmm.
like Wizard 101 was a big one. I've done like Dungeons and Dragons. I'm big into Magic the Gathering. I do all the video games, Skyrim, Witcher. I played all these games. I'd never heard this game before in my life. But then
I'm
I'm like looking
educating
into it.
you.
I'm like looking into this and I'm like, wow, looks like a really, really good game. Like I'm so surprised I haven't heard of it before. But
Yeah.
like this is the time to do that. Like during my time, like I remember I was on a little bit of like a Minecraft binge during that time. Like again, I have my yearly go back to play Minecraft. For us gamers, it's just a thing. But like I like was playing like my video games with my friends during those days. Like to just I did my quick sheets, did a little bit of review. I did like a Cars passage or two. And then it was
Hmm.
just like relaxing. Because like that's probably the highest yield thing you can do in those last 2 days. Right?
Hmm.
Because like I have seen this and I've seen this so unfortunately speaking with students who have taken their exam and have to retake. A lot of the times they push themselves way too hard the two
Yeah.
days before. I'd seen this one student and they were telling me how the day before they they were doing practice passages the day before their exam and they had like
Oh,
one
what a
science
pain.
passages that
Yep.
like they got like 1 out of 6 on it, completely shot their confidence. They could have been the most prepared for it, but imagine what that does to you if you get like 0 out of 6 on a passage. Some on content, maybe it was just an extremely difficult passage. Maybe it's not
Yeah.
super representative of what you're going to see on test day, but
Yeah.
what that does to your confidence on test day is huge. And
Yeah.
so the
Mm.
biggest thing, the most important, I know, right? My heart, I was like,
I
oh,
know.
why?
So sad.
Um, but like the biggest thing here is like the most high yield thing is not to do passages, it's to sleep well,
Get your
eat
mind
well,
right. Yeah.
relax, right?
Yeah.
Again, like I love the athlete analogy where at world-class athletes are like stretching. They do
Hmm.
things to like kind of like keep their body good, but they're not exhausting their body at all. Take care
Yeah.
of the mind because that's what's going to be so important for test day.
Yeah. And I almost feel like when we talk about like, the days before the Thursday evening and then pretty much all day Friday,
Friday.
right?
Hmm.
Review the equation sheet in the morning. In my eyes, that's all you should do.
Hmm.
Equation sheet, give it an hour of studying in the morning and then go relax. I almost liken it to like if you really are feeling overwhelmed and you need to think something through, so many of us, and Mike, I'm curious if this works for you too. I go on a walk. Like if I'm just like
Hmm.
I'm too in my head, I've been inside too long, like I have to work through something. I can't do it if I'm stuck in the same place. Like if I get out and I mean personally I live in Southern California, so I go
Sure.
drive to the beach and I'll go
Hmm.
walk, right?
Hmm.
Or it could be in the forest, it could be anywhere, right? Somewhere natural for myself, but maybe
Sure.
you have different values or
Hmm.
interests. But if I just get moving, it's like almost like just going through the motions of moving my body allows my brain to process. And I
Hmm.
feel like for me, exercise is a big one.
Hmm.
Hiking, that's what I did when I was
Hmm.
leading up to test day. I did Thursday night, just like a pretty nature walk, and then Friday, like a hike.
Hmm.
Um, because I actually feel like I personally focus better when my body is tired.
Interesting.
Maybe it's
Interesting.
exhausting like the ADHD in me, but if my
But
body is
interesting.
tired, I sit and focus. But I feel like a lot of us get that through video games or crafting,
Hmm.
crocheting, knitting,
Hmm.
reading, watching movies, right? Like whatever just kind of scratches that itch in your mind, just makes you feel relaxed. You are processing the fact that you have an exam in 72 hours while you're doing that, right? Like
Hmm.
while you are actively relaxing, you're also getting comfortable with the idea in the background. I've got test day on Saturday, right? Like
Hmm.
my test day is coming up, but I'm not worried about it because I'm doing my favorite thing, whatever
Hmm.
that is, whatever you feel like you haven't done in a really long time, right?
Hmm.
Like I haven't seen my friends. Go see your friends,
That's
right?
okay.
Tell them, don't talk about the MCAT. Let's talk about other stuff. Let's talk about things we're excited about for the next month. Let's talk about anything else. Don't
Hmm.
engage with MCAT on the surface, but your brain is processing the
Hmm.
fact that you're taking it in the background, right?
No.
And that's actually really important.
It's so great. I actually I've never actually like pinpointed like that's exactly what we're doing, but really that is it's giving me some classical conditioning vibes where it's like you're coming to terms, you're associating this idea of taking your exam with something you like. So when you take the
That totally
actual
is.
exam, like it's like, oh, this is fine, right?
It's
I'm like,
okay.
that's the first thing that I was like, oh, hey, that's like you're really just conditioning yourself to be okay with it by pairing it to the unconditioned stimulus of of the thing that you already enjoy. So
Yeah,
big
I love
vibes,
that.
big vibes. I'm liking there.
Yeah.
But no, 100% agree. Yeah, like do again for me, I I'm whenever I'm like thinking about something and I feel like I'm getting a little bit overwhelmed by the thing, it's the gym. I put on my brain turns off and like I put my music on. My music when I'm chilling is
Mhm.
so different from my music when I'm in the
I
gym.
know.
It's so different. It's like I'm a whole different person there. Like I am like so locked in. Like don't talk to me. Like but I'm just like doing my thing, but I feel like I just think better like when I'm on
Yeah.
my own like in the gym. So I totally
Mhm.
understand what you mean by like by your body moving, the heart's beating. Like, wow, I probably have some of like the best ideas. Like if I'm trying to teach a concept and I'm thinking about how I'm going to teach it, when I'm in
Mhm.
the gym, I'm like, oh hey, that's a really good analogy that I could use. So no,
Yep.
100% doing something else rather than just sitting there and staring at your equation sheet or something, I think is huge.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
get your and again, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to move your body, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like again, if that's something that you enjoy, do it.
Mm-hmm.
You could do yoga, you could do Pilates, you could do a cycling class, right? Like whatever you enjoy,
Mm-hmm.
do it, right? The one thing that I see students do all the time that I've seen lead them very just down a dark hole is either I'm going to study all day
Mm-hmm.
and again, let in all that self-doubt. If you have a tough passage, it's going to tank your confidence. You're going to go into that test scared.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to go into that test scared. You don't want to go into the test scared, right? Or they say, okay, I'm going to take a rest, but they pick something that doesn't actually relax them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, especially back then, I really didn't watch a lot of TV. I just didn't have time for it, to be honest with
Mm-hmm.
you, trying to work full time and study for
Sure.
the
Mm-hmm.
MCAT and, take care of my dog and get exercise and sleep. And, I just didn't really. And I think if I were to just like, okay, I'm going to rest, but I'm not going to rest in a way that's actually restful for me. If I just sat down and just like played a show, I think I would not be engaged or relaxed enough. And I think in the background, my mind would be worrying about the test, right? Like you
Mm-hmm.
have to think about, again, to me, the best question is, what have I been missing? Not like, what do I normally love? It's, what have I been missing as for the last month I've been grinding MCAT? Like
Mm-hmm.
what does my heart tell me I need, like, and it could be like maybe I'm not usually a big cook,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe I want to try a new recipe. Like my brain is
Mm-hmm.
telling me that I have not been getting enough creative time. Or, like just think to yourself, what is my brain and my body telling me that I need, that I haven't gotten enough of over the past month? It could be social time, it could be exercise, it could be creative time, it could just be rotting on the couch with the TV on or on actually, I mean, I don't know. I feel like scrolling on
You don't
TikTok.
like the TV or TikTok thing, eh?
No, I mean I do. I actually do. I'm not, I do watch TV.
I'm,
I
I do
do
the
on TikTok. I feel like
TikToks.
I need to pull back on TikTok because I waste too
Yeah,
much time.
sure.
But I feel like the constantly scrolling,
Mm,
I actually think is not it's not actually that restful because your brain is
mhm,
constantly like, oh, here's a
mhm,
new thing, here's a new thing, here's a new
mhm.
thing. You can't really
Rest.
relax into it and
Mm,
actually get rest. I feel like a
mm,
movie that's a long movie or
mm,
like a show that you've been watching,
mm,
it's not, it's a little less stimulating in a good way.
mm,
I feel like scrolling is actually like constantly a new thing, a new thing, a
mm.
new thing. Scroll again, here's a new thing. It's not restful. And that
It's
doesn't mean that I
interesting.
don't use
It's
TikTok and Instagram because I do, but I always feel like, oh, I have an hour between two classes I'm teaching. Let me just look at my phone for a second. And then 30 minutes later,
I'm
I'm like,
gone.
I'm more tired than I started. Like,
Mhm.
this is not restful at all.
I think it's a big intention thing. Like I don't think I ever go on my phone and think I want to go on TikTok right now and like I
Yeah,
want to scroll or I want to go on Instagram. It's just this thing that we just do as soon as
do.
we open our phone. But
It's
like
like a
I think,
magnet.
oh, I'm going to go watch this show. I think it's an
Hmm.
intention thing. Like
Yeah.
it's a big thing with like procrastinating as well. Like what if you had intentionally blocked off that time to say, "Hey, I'm gonna go watch TikTok," like your intention is there, and so I think it would be more restful because a lot of times it's a
Yeah,
procrastinating thing where it's like, "Oh,
that's
I'm
a good
actually just
point.
putting something off." So I think about that a lot,
Hmm.
like when it's like, "Oh, since we don't intentionally do it, that's why it's not restful." But if since people don't normally do that, like that's not, I don't think that's the thing to be doing, right? That's not normally restful for most people. But
That's a really good point about the
mhm,
intention. I like that a
mhm,
lot.
mhm,
And that kind of applies to this week. This week is very intentional,
mhm,
right? Like you are picking things that you know specifically will relax you and will allow you the mental and emotional freedom
mhm,
while you're doing something you enjoy to kind of
mhm,
prepare and process. Actual test is here, right?
mhm,
It's not more scary than a full length. It's exactly the same. And I've already done all the hard work.
mhm,
I'm gifting myself this time of rest
mhm,
that I deserve. And
mhm,
ultimately, this is playing a role in getting me ready, right? Like
mhm,
this is intentional. I'm not resting because I'm lazy. I'm not resting because I don't care. I'm resting because I am not lazy, because I've
mhm,
been working so hard and because I care enough to give myself that last boost of mental and emotional preparedness, right?
mhm,
Your
mhm,
brain has the knowledge it has.
mhm.
It does.
And
It has
that's
the
it.
knowledge it has. It has the skills that you've already built. You're not going to, you're not, again, if you have major content gaps, go watch the video we talked about before. Like there are things, if you don't know them, don't take your test yet.
Yeah, you're
And
just
if
not
you have the
ready.
freedom, don't like, there are kind of the red flags of like, you're actually not ready. If you've passed those green flags, or if you have a time constraint, you need to take it, this is your rest time. And it is the highest yield thing that you can do. That being said, and I do want to mention, there is one productive thing that I would do on Friday.
Hmm.
Again, a quick review of the equation sheet in the morning, maybe 10, 20 minutes, I think is nice. I personally did it. You don't need to, but I'm not a memorization person at
You're not.
all. So it
Yeah.
was useful for me just to, kind of put that doubt at ease. Like, okay, yes, I just need to make sure I've seen it. Great. I'm
Mhm,
comfortable with these equations. I know how to use them. Um, I wouldn't spend more than an hour on Friday. Go do something you enjoy. But I will say, productive wise, set out your clothes that you're going to wear,
mhm,
right? Make sure you're comfortable with what you can and can't bring in, right? So pack your bag. Again, know that you can't wear hats, you can't wear watches, you can't wear, like, get comfortable with what you can and can't wear. What else can't you wear? Hats, watches. I think big
mhm.
hoodies sometimes are
Yeah.
kind of a
Jewelry,
question mark.
some jewelry is also a
I
question
think
mark.
I think rings are fine, but definitely no watches.
Yeah, yeah.
Like necklaces, earrings, things like that are
Hmm.
typically
Hmm.
fine, like just
Hmm.
personal jewelry, but
Hmm.
anything larger
Yeah.
is a no-go, right?
I thought I remember them taking my necklace. I
I
thought
don't think they take necklaces or rings.
I thought
Um,
I remember that they did take mine. Maybe I'm misremembering, but
Maybe if
yeah,
it's big enough to have like writing on
any
it,
writing
maybe.
on it. I think I
Yeah.
had a different necklace than I did at the time, but yeah,
Maybe
it
your
had like a little
necklace.
plate on it, so
Because what
maybe
if you
that's
like this is a tiny one, but what if this was a little camera? Like maybe
that
maybe you can't take a necklace in. I don't think
I
I don't
I
know if I
think
was wearing one.
yeah. But I mean if you're ever uncertain, I think always
Just leave it at
calling the
home.
test center is like
Or just leave it at
contact
home.
or just leave it at home. Is
When
that
in doubt, just leave it at home.
that is also a true statement. For me, I'm like, oh, I would just confirm with the test center because if it's
Yeah.
like something that's special, like, and you
Yes.
really want to
Yes.
see if it's something we can bring, like, I
Yeah.
think test centers they just call when they're open and
Call them.
they'll answer everything, or even just look it up, like because every specific test center.
Yeah.
But yeah, but
You don't
like
you don't
prepare.
want it to throw you off.
You don't want anything to throw you off. Like
Nope.
anything, like if there's like something you were banking on having, yeah, you
Yes.
definitely want to prepare for that. But this is kind of again
Yes.
going on that theme where you just want to reduce the amount of stress on test day as possible. So like you don't want to be thinking about what to wear in the morning. You should already have
Hmm.
it ready. You don't want to be thinking, I have to prepare breakfast or I have to prepare lunch or do I have enough time? That should be ready. And like the lunch
Yes.
that you're preparing should be this, it might be the same lunch that you've been taking every
Hmm.
single exam up until this point. Right? It shouldn't be
Yes.
something new you haven't eaten before during that lunchtime.
Yes.
But like preparing everything that you need to be ready.
Yes. And just to say this very intentionally, because a lot of students are like, what? You cannot, once you get there, you cannot leave, right?
Hmm.
Like some test centers, depending on where and depending on their individual policies, maybe you could step outside, directly outside of the door if you want fresh air, if you're feeling sick or whatever, but you cannot leave the property. You can't go drive and get takeout for lunch.
Hmm.
You cannot leave. So I've had students, especially I had a student in particular that took it dry. Um,
Mm,
don't ask why. They had never taken a full length. They just took the test without
mm.
looking at
Interesting.
anything. They didn't look at the website. They just came in and just said, I want to see how I would do. And they didn't realize that they couldn't leave. And so they didn't bring any food. So they went
Mm.
and sat for an 8 hour, 7.5 hour exam and they didn't eat anything. They didn't bring water, right? Make sure, again,
Uh-huh.
and I know we've talked about this with full lengths. We want them to be as accurate to your test day experience as possible. Lock your phone away, turn your computer on do not disturb. You don't want distractions. You don't want notifications. Don't use a calculator. Don't, check your phone between breaks. Don't drink water. Don't eat snacks during the test. You will not have access to any of that, right?
Mhm.
When you get in, they will take your phone and seal it in like a basically an evidence bag, like think police
It is
station, right?
essentially
Like
one, right?
they'll put it in an evidence bag and they lock it away. You cannot touch it until you're
Mm.
leaving, right? You will be able to put personal items like a sweater, a water bottle, a lunchbox, things like that. Any prescription medications that you've cleared with the test center ahead of time. I don't think most testing centers will let you bring anything other than a prescription. This was
Hmm.
something a student asked me, and I don't know 100% for certain. And I'm curious if you do. A student asked, like, can I bring an aspirin? Like, or if I get a
Mm.
headache, can I bring an Excedrin? I
Hmm.
don't think you're allowed to. I'm under the impression it's prescription only because who
Mm.
knows what you're bringing in if it was up in the air.
Mhm.
Have you heard anything about that?
I haven't heard anything. I think that's so tough because, I mean, I kind of liken it to like, because it's not controlled like a
Right.
prescription and not regulated like a prescription, it would be hard to regulate it outside as well. I would see it kind of like
Mhm.
food because of that lack of regulation. So it's like, oh, I just put it in my lunch bag, like if it's there. So I
Yeah.
don't know if it's specifically controlled. Actually, I actually don't know.
Call the test center. Call
Yeah,
the test
that
center.
again, this is definitely something you would want to confirm with your test center whether they do it or not, because again, you don't want to mess around with that. If like you are
Yeah.
relying on
You don't
that,
want to get in trouble. Yeah.
yeah,
If
contact
you're
they will answer that question.
if you're worried that you might get a headache, take an aspirin before you get in or
Hmm.
Excedrin or whatever. I also think if you were going to call the test center, your best bet is probably to get like from a gas station or like a CVS, one of the individually packaged little pouches
Oh,
that just have
sleeves,
like
yeah.
one or two that are sealed.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know that they would let you bring in an opened bottle of something because
Yeah,
again, who knows what's in
what's in
there.
there? Yeah.
But I've not had that question posed to me before. So again, if there's anything like that you're worried about, prescriptions, you're allowed, right? If
Hmm.
you are prescribed and you need to take it at particular times, you are allowed to do that. You just have to give the test center like a notice.
Hmm.
But if there's anything like that, if you're unsure, right, don't bank on being able to access it. That's the
Hmm.
most important thing. Don't bank on it. And if you need it, call and get approval ahead of time, right?
Hmm.
They're happy to answer these questions. A lot of the people that work at the testing center are super
Very,
sweet.
very sweet. I think they understand the
Very
kind of like
sweet.
the kind of situation, we were all in like super
Yeah.
stressed. Like I think they're very, very receptive to that. But on test day, they're
Receptive.
both nice, but also very, very strict. They will like
Yes.
they will adhere to the rules to the
Oh,
T.
yeah. Yes.
Um,
Yes.
but
Which
yeah,
we
no.
appreciate.
Yeah, of course.
Good
We want
thing.
that to be the case. But yeah, no,
Yes.
they are very receptive to any and all questions. Absolutely. So,
Yes.
but again, the big theme here is we want to reduce stressors as much as possible on test day. So anything that could be an X factor, we don't want it part of the equation. Let's get it out of the
Yes.
equation. Let's confirm
Yes.
it well beforehand.
Yes.
100%.
Exactly. So set out your clothes, right? And I always say testing centers are colder than I think they are, right?
Mm.
I like layers. You can't go out if you're in your test, you can't
Mhm.
access your locker, right? You
Mhm.
can access it on breaks, but if you get in, you're like, oh, I'm a little chillier than I thought I would. You can't go out and get it from your locker, right? You can, I think, in an emergency, you can go to the bathroom, but they don't let you
Mhm.
touch your locker.
Mhm.
You also, by the way, can't keep notes and stuff in your locker either,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Clothes, food, water, yes.
Mhm.
Anything else? No.
No.
Okay, so get get your computer out, make sure you know what's allowed and what's not. Set out everything that you're gonna need
Mhm.
on Friday. Okay, you could do
Mhm.
it on Thursday too if you want, right? I
I
don't
mean, I
care.
wouldn't do the food, maybe not the
Not
food,
the
but
food. Well, you can
then
pack it. Like you can,
sure.
if you meal prep or whatever, or if you just know what you want. And I
Exactly.
know you mentioned hopefully you should be eating the same lunch and
Food.
snacks and food every time you take a full length. That some people are like, that's crazy. Like, I don't want to do that.
No.
you don't want to try something new or eat something that could upset your stomach. Like, God
Mhm.
forbid, you're sitting down and you're trying to take your test and your stomach is gurgling, or
Mhm.
you're feeling like you might need to use the bathroom all of a sudden,
Mhm.
or, like, take no chances.
Mhm.
Pick something that you know will not upset your stomach, that you know will keep you full long enough,
Mhm.
right? Not overly full, right? If
Mhm.
you go out and you eat a double double before and you just feel tired and gross, like,
Mhm. Yeah.
that's not a good thing to
Not a
eat,
good thing, like,
right?
right?
But if you only eat, one apple slice in the morning, you're going to be hungry. Like, you need to find your Goldilocks zone. You need
Mhm.
to make sure you're eating something that will keep you sustained and energized for the entire period of at least one section. And you need to make sure that it's not going to weigh you down or make you sick.
Mhm.
Um, and I mean, if you weren't someone who was thinking of doing that, every time you take a full length, no worries. Think about this in the 7 days leading up, right?
Mhm.
What do I enjoy
Mhm.
that is beneficial for me and that, again, keeps me satiated, but also not overly full and not feeling like you need to use the restroom at any given
Right.
time?
Right. I always get questions about like suggestions, like what I would suggest. For me, it's kind of tough to answer that because everyone's so different. Like
Yeah.
in terms of like dietary restrictions, because like for me,
Mhm.
I think on my own test day, I had like a PB&J sandwich for lunch. Like that's just
Nice.
something that like I liked. It had some carbohydrates, some fats, some proteins. Again, it was very analytical. It was like this has the things that I need to fuel me. But
Yeah.
I know for other people, like maybe that would upset your stomach. I mean, if you're allergic to peanuts, that's definitely a no. But like
Yes.
that's why I'm like, oh, like find what works for you. Like find what
Yeah.
works like for each individual and then stick to that. But I mean, for
Yes.
me, it was like a PB&J sandwich. I don't know
I
what
love
did what
that.
was what do you remember what yours was?
Yes, I do. Of
Mhm.
course. I'm a big
Uh,
a wrap
oh,
person.
interesting.
I
Yeah.
love me a good wrap.
Mhm.
And there are lots that I love. And really you can make a wrap that fits any dietary restriction.
Mhm.
So they have like, I love Trader Joe's. They have really good just ready-made. And
Really?
because
Uh-huh.
I wasn't at my house, I couldn't cook, couldn't
Mhm.
make one at home. So I just went to a Trader Joe's next to the test center the
Mhm.
day before, like
Mhm.
on my way to the Airbnb, and picked up. They have a spicy lentil wrap that's really good if you are vegetarian or aren't
Mhm.
eating meat. Love it. It does have a good amount of protein. It has a little crunch from the shredded lettuce that's in there. Or they also have really good, like, just chicken breast ones that have veggies in
Mhm.
it. It's good. It's got protein. It's got fats. It's got carbs.
Mhm.
That was my favorite.
Mhm.
And I'm curious about this for you because I'm a snacker. I
Mhm.
love to snack. I love just the activity of snacking.
Mhm.
Um, and also, I'm someone who gets hungry, and being hungry distracts me pretty
Mhm.
easily. So,
Mhm.
like, for me, and I did this during my full lengths, but especially for my real exam, every single time I had a break, and that includes 10 minutes and the 30-minute break, um, I would get up, I'd go use the restroom. Even if I felt like I didn't need to, I would
Uh-huh.
just try. And then I'd
Mhm.
go grab a drink of water and I'd have some sort of snack, right? Like,
Mhm.
I love veggies. I brought veggies and dip. I brought like some sort of granola bar.
Mhm.
I brought a plethora of different snacks and
Mhm.
options for myself, but I always would use the restroom, drink water, and eat something every single break, just because I didn't want to be distracted by having to use the restroom, being
Mhm.
really thirsty, or being hungry.
Shoot, those you're covering all your bases there.
Yes.
I mean for me, like I think I only snack when I'm hungry. I think that's just me. Like
Okay.
I
That's a
I kind
much better situation than me.
so I just wanted to make sure like I had a big breakfast. Like I'm like someone who I like big meals and then I only really snack if I'm hungry or if I want to distract myself from the thing that I'm doing. So like if I'm doing
Mhm.
something that's very monotonous, the MCAT is not something that's monotonous, so I don't feel the need
Yes.
to snack. But like if I'm doing something that like, is kind of like, oh, I just need to do it. Like I like snacking in those cases as well. But yeah, no,
Mhm.
I'm a little bit different where it's like as long as I'm not hungry, so like I have a big meal for before and then I have a big meal at lunch, like a good I think I had like two or three PB&J sandwiches. Like I was like ready. I just wanted to be
I love it.
satiated
Are
ready
you
for
eating Uncrustables or homemade PB&Js?
homemade. Are you?
Do
We
you
don't.
leave the crust on?
Of course I do. I'm not.
Okay,
I'm
yeah,
not. I'm
I love the
not.
crust. Okay.
I'm like, what? Who? I mean, actually, I'm shooting. I'm taking a shot at somebody right now.
Oh
But
yeah,
like,
so many people. Maybe it's an American thing. No one eats the crust.
what
I
is
love the
wrong?
crust.
I
Leave
mean,
the
the crust
crust
is so,
on.
like
I'll
again,
even
if
eat
you're
the crusty end pieces of the bread. Make
first.
that. It actually is a really good PB&J.
Right? No, I see. I toast my bread beforehand. Like the crunch. Whoever doesn't like the crust, we've got we've got issues. But no, I am toasting it PB&J, and also it's good to toast so that the jelly doesn't get into the bread.
Yeah.
Very intentional PB&J. Love a good sandwich. Um,
Everything comes back to intention, even
it
PB&J making.
honestly, I hope like if we were to rename the podcast, it'd be like the intentional
Setting a
podcast,
good
right?
intention. Yeah.
Right? Because there's
All in
always a
intention.
reason. There's always a reason. So, 100% know what works for you. Again, and
Yes.
honestly, how you describe Trader Joe's, I'm like, and how you described Dave the Diver, I'm like, we should just get you like, like you, we should get sponsors. Like you just talk about them, like,
I would be
like.
so down. Are you kidding me? I
But
would
like yeah, no,
represent.
it's hype. But no, but again, it all comes back to what works for you, reducing stressors. This is not the week to be increasing your stress. Okay.
Yes.
So I mean, and then all that's left after you've done all of this is to just take the thing, right?
To just show up and do it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you need to have your motivational like mantra or your motivational routine, right? Like that morning, you're going to wake up. Hopefully you get lots of good sleep before.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other
Mm-hmm.
thing that we haven't mentioned. Please, 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 please,
Get
please.
sleep.
Every
Get sleep.
minute that you are gaining in your day because you're not studying and doing passages should be sleep, right? Please. And also be careful. If I've had a student who was really worried and really anxious on Friday and was studying on Friday and then was like, I'm not gonna be able to go to sleep, took a melatonin. She'd never taken
Oh.
melatonin before,
Mm-hmm.
and was really groggy on test day. Don't get sleep, but don't introduce anything that you've never taken before. This is
Mm-hmm.
not the time. This week should be exactly how you've been living your life for months, right? Don't, no new variables, but get sleep and start as early in that 7 day period as you can, right? You
Mm-hmm.
want to be rested. Saturday morning or whatever your test day is, right? You're going to wake up. And I remember this so specifically. I woke up and I was like, oh, okay, where the heck am I? Oh, I'm in an Airbnb. Oh my God, it's test day. It was this big, like,
I was like, did you forget where you left? I'm like, oh right, no, you were not at home, right? That's that,
yeah.
yeah.
I was like, whoa, oh my God, right? This is test day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you're gonna have that, oh wow moment of this is test day, but then you're gonna realize, you know what? I don't have to think right now. My clothes are all laid out. I get up, stretch out a little bit. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I have everything that I'm gonna wear. I already have my like lunch packed in the fridge. I just grab it. I don't even need like a pen and paper. I don't need a notebook. I'm not gonna have access to any of that, right? Like grab my water.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's it. All right,
Yeah.
let's go. It's personally, again, I know I've probably said this a million times. I'm a big nature person, and also exercise warms up my brain. Um, I wasn't doing sprints or anything like that, but I did. I picked an Airbnb that was next to like a nice little nature area. It was just like a little lake, and it was the sunrise.
Mm-hmm.
So I got up and out and I made sure I had everything I needed, double, triple checked everything, put everything in the car. And then the actual house that I was in was right next to like this really pretty, just tiny little lake. But there were birds and ducks. And I was like, all right, just walked around like, all right, you know what? Like I can't, this is my mantra. I cannot study or prepare any more than I have. I have what I have, right? All I need to do is show up and use what I have, right?
Mm-hmm.
To give myself the best shot, it's calm the heck down, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you are scattered and stressed and you're all over the place, you won't even be able to use the tools and the knowledge that you have, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can't study anymore. I can't turn back the clock and study harder, study more, do more tests. I, I have an hour before my test,
Mm-hmm.
right? Do some deep breaths, look at some ducks, right? I wish that I could hug my dog or my fiance or something, but I couldn't because I was in an Airbnb, right? Like I just have to show up. All right, I'm ready. right?
Mhm.
Whatever that looks like for you,
Mhm.
for me, it's recognizing there's nothing more that I could do, right?
Mhm.
The best thing I could
Yeah.
do, couple deep breaths, center myself, go drive to the test center. I like to get there early. I sat down to take it. I was supposed to take it at 8, but I got there at 7:30 when they started allowing people. I took it, started at maybe 7:45,
Mhm.
right? And then I was done a little early.
Yeah.
That's it.
Mhm.
What did
And
you
that's
do?
for me, it was a little bit different. I was at home. I was living
Yeah,
with my
you're at home.
parents at the time, and I remember. So you are super active. Like I am like I. If anyone's like me, I'm like I am not going on a nature walk in the morning. For me, I woke up like early, the same time as I did every exam, and then I went to go downstairs. My parents were already up, and they just gave me a hug and just said, "Hey, good luck." And
That's sweet.
I and then I went to go, and then again driving to there, I already knew exactly where I was going. I Before every single exam, I'm a big music person.
Music, yes.
I'm a huge music person. So like I was a big like
Piano and orchestra.
piano Mozart. Yeah,
Look
you
at
remember
that. I
okay,
remember.
yeah. So like it was like Mozart, it was very piano. Like I Claire de Lune was the like I love like again River Flows in You by Yuruma. Like these are
That
like
is my favorite piano
right?
song.
Like again, like I was
Oh,
like the
beautiful.
really Lacrimosa, like these are like very common, like just the things that I just always listen to when I was like wanting to focus, really priming my brain, doing the exact things I was preparing myself to do, so that when I showed up, I sat down. I remember going through this exam like, yeah, this is just the exam. I didn't feel any different. There was no extra stressors. I knew exactly what to expect. Like this isn't a lot of the times when I hear that, oh, test day was so different. Test day isn't really any different. It's just the
Yeah.
exact same exam, but we make it feel different because of all the extra stressors, with all the extra thoughts, with all the extra things. Right?
Yes.
And
And
so, oh, sorry.
I just want to take a moment because I know that we both were able to, based on how we spent our 7 days, um, to calm ourselves down
Mhm.
before the exam. And we were able to tell ourselves through whatever avenue worked for us, this is just another test. I can't study anymore. All I need to do is calm down and go. If that is really difficult for you,
Mhm.
if you are struggling to find that, I feel like we should also talk about if, especially maybe we mastered our mindset going in, but we see a passage that throws us off.
Mhm.
There are things that you can do to recenter and refine that during your test. Grounding exercises are a big one,
Mhm.
especially if you know you have test anxiety. You probably have coping strategies already,
Mhm.
but you don't want to be thrown off, right? So, one of the things that you can and should do if you feel overwhelmed and you lose that peaceful mindset ahead of
Mhm.
time, right? We want to prepare, feet flat on the ground, close your eyes, as many deep breaths as you can, right? Some people do like things that you can see, touch, taste, smell, all that good
Mhm.
stuff. Look into it, right? There are lots of great educational content on YouTube or on the internet. What can I do to ground myself? Grounding exercises is something to search for. If
Mhm.
you are thrown off and you lose grip of that mindset of this is just another test, right? I'm Zen, I'm MCAT Zen, right? If you
Mhm.
lose that, practice ways to find that again, right? I
Mhm.
just wanted to make sure I address that because
Yeah, of
again,
course.
a lot of us really do struggle with test anxiety.
Mhm.
And we might be hearing this saying, like, oh,
It's
Mike,
so
Molly,
great.
I would really love to be
Mhm.
able to be Zen and to do a nature walk or to hug my parents before and to have
Mhm.
everything all laid out. But maybe you have kids and laying
Mhm.
something out, people are going to eat your lunch and, like
Sure.
there are always going to be variables. Um, so just do your best, do the best that you can to eliminate all the variables in the week leading up. Do your best to take that Thursday night and that Friday, assuming you're testing on Saturday, as chill as you can. Be
Mhm.
realistic with yourself. Do your best to find that mindset. But if all else fails, look into grounding exercises and things that you can do to recenter as much as you can in the moment where it is game time, right?
Mhm.
You're in the Olympics. Do whatever you can. Oh, I twisted my ankle. What can I do? How
Mhm.
can I cope? What am I allowed to do here to make sure I can just finish, right? Just finish my victory lap, right?
Mhm.
Hard work's done, but I just need to show up for this last little piece.
Mhm.
Um, so just something to look into, especially if you know you struggle with test anxiety. But to be honest with you, even if you don't, personally, I never had a major issue with test anxiety. But the exhaustion gets everyone, right?
Absolutely.
And I needed those grounding exercises, even though I don't traditionally have test anxiety, because in psych soc, I was just so tired.
Mm-hmm.
I was so mentally fatigued.
Mm-hmm.
I was always able to push through to the end of biochem because that was my favorite section.
Sure.
Chem phys was my scariest, but I told myself I get it out of the way early. Get it
Mm-hmm.
out of the way early.
Mm-hmm.
And now
Mm-hmm.
I'm done. End of chem phys, I have a boost of energy because the
It's
worst is
done.
over. It's over. Right. And then I have
Mm-hmm.
cars, which I've conditioned myself to be interested in, even if it's
Mm-hmm.
not. Again,
Mm-hmm.
10 minutes to learn something new,
Fun.
maximum.
Right.
Right. Okay. I don't really care about this topic, but I can give it 10 minutes. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Do my routine. I had lots of practice. Okay, cool. I get my lunch. Now it's my favorite. Yay. Biochem's over, and I'm like, all right. Not that I don't like psych soc, but it's like the exhaustion's getting to me. I want to go home. I had a hard shutdown about
Mm-hmm.
maybe a third of the way into psych soc of like,
Oh wow.
I cannot do this anymore. I am so tired.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go to sleep. Like, I don't even know if I could finish. And I did
Mm-hmm.
exactly what I mentioned earlier. Feet flat on the ground, closed my eyes, feet or hands flat on the table, just gave myself probably like a minute of like,
Mm-hmm.
just rest, chill
Yeah.
out, breathe in, breathe out.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of leads me to the last thing with this game day performance. And that actually helped me get over that barrier with psych soc is I have something to look forward to the
Oh my
second I
goodness.
walk out of this test
Yes.
room.
Oh my goodness. Yes, I was looking forward to this one because like
Yes.
everyone has the thing that like gets them through test day.
Yes.
Like what was yours? What was your thing?
Well, okay, so keep in mind I was not at home. So
Hmm.
I knew I would have that like 3 hour drive,
Hmm.
3.5 hour drive. There wasn't traffic, so it was more like
Okay.
3. I was like, okay, I'm gonna
Hmm.
have 3 hours to
Hmm.
do my alone time things. I'm like, I'm gonna listen to music.
Hmm.
I had like a full-on dance party in the car.
Sure,
Just like,
sure, yeah.
I'm done. I'm
Hmm.
done. I had my little like introspective, like, I just freaking did this. I
Hmm.
went and got Chipotle,
Oh
big,
yeah.
like a big giant bowl. I was eating my
Hmm.
burrito. I was like, this is a good day. And then I thought to myself, like, I haven't seen my friends in so long.
Hmm. Hmm.
Haven't seen them in so long. And I know
Hmm.
that I'll be tired, but I'll have that drive to recharge. And so I told just maybe like 7 or 8 friends, come
Hmm.
over. I want to see you guys. Let's just hang out. Let's watch movies. Let's play games. Like I want to celebrate being done. Like I
Hmm.
don't want to talk about it a bunch. It basically, if I did really poorly, I would have my friends there to cheer me up. And if I did really well, I'd have my friends there to celebrate with me.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
I think nowadays I'm a little more introverted. I'd probably just come home and, play Dave the Diver.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm like 7 or 8 friends. I'm like, wow, you are
Yeah.
popular.
Keep
No,
in
I
mind,
mean,
I was like just coming out of college. I
sure,
feel like
sure.
everyone in
Mm,
college is maybe a little bit more social, and then
sure.
you mellow out and you're like, do I
Mm.
really want to go see people or do I want to
I
stay at
mean,
home?
Dave was kind of calling me, like, and I'm working that one to, kill some fish. I don't know what it,
Yeah.
but I mean,
What
for
did you
me,
do?
yeah, for me, I remember this was actually really funny because like during this time, I was making like I had this like Instagram page and I was like posting every single day like my
Oh.
progress, and so sometimes I look back to
Wait,
be
wait,
like,
wait.
what?
What was your Instagram page? We
It
cannot
was
pass
like it
go.
was like oh I don't want to like dox myself here, but like it was like this 365s were popular during this time, so I was like posting every single day from
Okay.
January 1st, 2020, all
Uh-huh.
throughout the year. And so I look back at it and I'm like, oh wow, these were the things I would like do little while I was learning organic chemistry. I'd like make little videos for all my friends, like, hey, this is what I learned in organic chemistry. I'm making and I'm like taking suggestions in the comments, like, hey, I got a suggestion to make, the compound that makes poop smell. Like here it is. Like this is I built like I built it. And like here you can see these structures here. There's again I had one of those like models. And then we like make
Oh my God.
molecules while I was learning, right? And
I'm
like
s-
sharing with my friend. I'd see like make videos like, hey, who's sick of like studying physics? Like I know I am. Like and I have my physics book out. And I'm like it was just going through the progress. So and I made a video like after my testing. I'm like, hey, just finished. Like I am so happy to be done. No idea how I did. And then I just see a lot of the videos like my video frequency died down a little bit because I was like saying it's like every single day I'm just studying, but it just spiked back up again because I'm like, oh, now I'm just doing all these fun things. Let me do all these. I started hanging out with
Fun.
friends, going out, played a lot more golf. I suck at golf, but played a lot more golf. But it was one of those things where it was this light at the end of the tunnel where I was so excited to be done so I could spend more time with those I cared about, do other things, spend time with my interests, spend more time just chilling, playing video
By
games,
yourself.
like doing
Yeah.
the things that we love, right? And this is
Love
kind of
that.
like the big thing when it comes to like this week after, right? This I mean this last week going into this exam and after. This is the time to be reaping the rewards of all the hard work that you did so that when you take this test and be done with it, right, you can enjoy, move on with your life from this exam. Yeah.
Yes. I love that. And I love that you were like a vlogger before it was cool.
Yeah. Oh, kind of a big deal. What can I
You're pretty
say?
cool, honestly.
It,
That's pretty awesome. Also, I will be scouring the internet to try and find those
oh my goodness.
educational
It's
videos.
funny because it's
I
actually
now
kind of
want to
findable.
know. I want to know the compound that makes poop smell. I'm really interested. You've got me hooked. Um, I love the idea that you interact with your viewers and,
Mhm.
make content that they want. And by the way, if you're watching this and you're like, "Oh, I really wish Mike and Molly would talk about this thing," please let us know,
No,
right? We
right?
want to make videos that you guys are interested in. Um, and now I really want to find that. But yes, I
Never.
love that we talk about essentially how everyone's different, right? You are going to be wanting to do something that's probably very different than me, right? Mike and I did not have the very same
hmm
after test day, right, expectations. Which, by the way, so you didn't hang out with friends. What did you do? You made your video
I
and then
so
video
after
games,
I
home
like
time,
I
sleep.
played a lot of video games, I'm gonna be honest.
Okay,
Like
nice,
I like went on a little bit of a video game binge. Like I was like
nice,
I just want to turn my brain off, do nothing brain productive. I did have friends, like I had friends, like I hung out with them, like but not like right after I got home and just like brain was off. I'm gonna just take my mind off of it. That's exactly what I
love
did.
it, love it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, wonderful. And honestly, like you mentioned, the next week or so,
Mhm.
take a breath. Take a breath,
Mhm.
right? Don't push yourself. Um, that being said, depending on when you're taking your test, you may not be able to take a month off, right?
Mhm.
And that's
Mhm.
actually leading us to what we're going to talk about in our next episode, which is how to balance MCAT,
Mhm.
whether it's currently studying for the MCAT or I'm just about to take my test. I want to schedule some time to relax, but you got something else on your plate, which is applications, right?
Natural
So,
thing, natural next step, right?
yes. So,
Mhm.
no matter what, take a couple days, take a
Mhm.
week, take as long as you need to just rest and recoup, right? But chances are we may need to switch gears and start writing personal statements and working activities and asking for letters of rec and tracking down those letters of rec and
Mhm.
finishing the AMCAS, all of that good stuff, making school lists. So if we haven't worked on that at all, we're gonna need to start. But that's what we're going to talk about on our next episode. So,
Mhm.
how moving forward, whether you're currently studying or just finishing, how should I be balancing my MCAT with the rest of my application? When
Mhm.
should I start working on all these things so I can have the freedom to take a breather after MCAT? Or maybe you're taking MCAT after your application's already in. We'll talk about different pathways
Mhm.
for students in different situations. So make sure to tune in if you are worried about that, right? Or
Mhm.
wanting to keep that balance in mind. Um,
Mhm.
but as a last message, if you are taking your test soon, you've done all the hard work, right?
Mhm.
Don't worry about applications right now.
Mhm. Mhm.
Don't worry about anything else. You know exactly what you should do. Saturday, take your test. Sunday, Monday, and even into Tuesday, review your test. Wednesday, do a nice little review of the topics that you recognize. You know what? I need to work on this. Thursday, review the quick sheets, but then rest, right? Friday, take a look at your equations, pack your stuff, make sure you have everything for your test day, and then really rest, deep rest, lots of sleep. On test day, make sure you are in that routine. Make sure you clear your head. You do something that you're excited for after your test and then give yourself a break, right? You've worked way too hard to stress out in this last week, right? We believe in you. We can't wait to see you succeed. Please, if you found this helpful, reach out. Let us know how you did on your test when you get your
Mhm.
score back. If there's anything that took you by surprise when you took your test, let us know. Best of luck to you. I'm so excited for you to end this chapter. And we're honored that you spent this time with us.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is, again, I love talking about these and hearing from students who enjoy these and share their experiences. So if you're listening to this and you're worrying about that test day, you're gonna do great. Believe in yourself, and this is gonna be really exciting once you're on the other side of it.
Yes, we love
Mhm.
you. Thanks for being part of the Jack Weston family.
All right. Bye now, everyone.